when Israel invaded Lebanon in response to the kidnapping of Israel's soldiers. I was one of the first people to state that Israel had an unequivocal right to defend itself and to rescue soldiers that had been captured, and that is what any country would do. On vote after vote, I have demonstrated my support of the State of Israel. So the way you know where somebody's going is where have they been. And I've been with Israel for many, many years now. What is also true is I believe it is strongly in the interests of Israel's security to arrive at a lasting peace with the Palestinian people. I don't think those positions are contradictory. I think they are complementary. It is going to be hard for Israel over the long term, and this is something that I think the vast majority of Israelis understand. It is going to be hard to achieve true security if there's still hostile neighbors only a few miles away. But what I think that Israel has to do is to make sure that that peace is not purchased by putting Israel's security at risk, and it's the job of the United States, I think, to make sure that that peace is centered and promotes Israel's long-term security.
The title of one of your books, Audacity of Hope, you acknowledge you got from a sermon from Reverend Jeremiah Wright, the head of the Trinity United Church. He said that Louis Farrakhan epitomizes greatness. He said that he went to Libya in 1984 with Louis Farrakhan to visit with Muammar Gaddafi, and that when your political opponents found out about that, quote, your Jewish support would dry up quicker than a snowball in hell. What do you do to assure Jewish Americans that whether it's Farrakhan support or the activities of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, your pastor, you are consistent with issues regarding Israel?
Tim, I have some of the strongest support from the Jewish community in my hometown of Chicago and in this presidential campaign. And the reason is because I have been a stalwart friend of Israel's. I think they are one of our most important allies in the region, and I think that their security is sacrosanct, and that the United States is in a special relationship with them, as is true with my relationship with the Jewish community. And the reason that I have such strong support is because they know that not only would I not tolerate anti-Semitism in any form, but also because of the fact that what I want to do is rebuild what I consider to be a historic relationship between the African American community and the Jewish community. I would not be sitting here were it not for a whole host of Jewish Americans who supported the civil rights movement and helped to ensure that justice was served in the South. And that coalition has frayed over time around a whole host of issues. And part of my task in this process is making sure that those lines of communication and understanding are reopened.
It was just a few years after the liberation of the camps that David Ben-Gurion declared the founding of the Jewish state of Israel. We know that the establishment of Israel was just and necessary, rooted in centuries of struggle and decades of patient work. But 60 years later, we know that we cannot relent, we cannot yield, and as president, I will never compromise when it comes to Israel's security. Our alliance is based on shared interests and shared values. Those who threaten Israel threaten us. Israel has always faced these threats on the front lines, and I will bring to the White House an unshakable commitment to Israel's security. That starts with ensuring Israel's qualitative military advantage. I will ensure that Israel can defend itself from any threat, from Gaza to Tehran. Defense cooperation between the United States and Israel is a model of success, and it must be deepened.
Aside from elected officials, who can you point to as close personal friends of you and your wife who are Jewish Americans and solidly pro-Israel anti-terrorist, and can say that close personal friends of you and your wife that have influenced your thinking on the Arab-Israeli conflict.
Well, look, I think the general question was that are there past associations of mine that would be troublesome to the Jewish community? And I think I guess the question was from your daughter, are there sort of people who will vouch for me? Now, I have to be very, I have to be very cautious about this, but because, you remember the old stereotype about somebody says, well, I'm not prejudiced, some of my best friends are Jewish, right? Or I'm not prejudiced, some of my best friends are black. So, I hesitate to start listing them out. Let me just state that my finance chair for my committee, one of my closest friends, is named Penny Pritzker, a fairly prominent Jewish family. My Illinois co-chair is James Crown, whose father, Lester Crown, is pretty prominent in the pro-Israel community. One of my dearest friends and somebody who constantly advises me on Israel issues is a guy named Lee Rosenberg, who is on the executive board of AIPAC. One of my political mentors is Abner Mikva, who was the former White House counsel. So I could start then going through the list. The irony is that when I was in Chicago, one of the raps on me when I first ran for Congress in the African American community was, he's too close to the Jewish community. Seriously, you can look this up in the newspapers. All his friends are Jews. He's from Hyde Park. He's University of Chicago, and so that's part of why this kind of conversation is frustrating.